Finally, the drama involved getting this TV here has been real, but it's finally here. That's what matters, and I'm super excited. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Caleb Dennison, and today we are finally unboxing the LG C10 or CX, if you prefer, OLED TV. Took about 4 months to finally get this in. There were some shipping problems, also pandemic, but it's finally here. That's what matters, so let's get to it. Here's everything that comes in the box. We've got batteries for the Magic Motion remote, a cover plate if you're not going to use the stand. There's some mounting screws here, a breakout cable and clasp, and then the literature, which normally I would just scooch off to the side, but we're gonna have to take a look at something here. So let's talk about this stand for a second. First of all, this piece right here is ridiculously heavy. So that's gonna make installation just a little bit cumbersome. We'll get to that in a minute. Also, there are instructions for assembling this stand, but they're not particularly useful. They're kind of IKEA-style pictorial instructions, and I think they do more harm than good. So this is how the stand gets put together, and I'm gonna have to take a second here because this never goes right. You kind of slide this long piece in, and it's supposed to lock in, but you have to get it at just such an angle, and it always takes me like way too long to figure it out. But there it is, all right? It finally slotted in, and now you might think that you screw from the top because there are these holes here. That's not the case. What we actually need to do is flip this up, and we're gonna screw in from the bottom. For this next portion of the setup, you want to put the TV face down on a flat surface. We've got some acoustic foam underneath here. You could use towels, but definitely have something soft, and you definitely want to have it well supported because when we go to put that heavy base on here, we don't want it tilting down. Now we've got to set the base into this recessed portion, and see those two tabs on the top? Those are going to line up with a couple of recessed slots in this area, and that's all that's holding it in place, but it seems to be doing the job okay. And now we screw it. Oh, hey, look, I was wrong, and I can admit it. This decorative piece goes here whether you're stand mounting or wall mounting. And then we have a little cable management area here that we'll be using in a little bit. Now I want to talk about the HDMI ports. All four are 4K 120. So gamers, you can take your pick, it doesn't really matter. I do want to point out that number 2 is the ARC or eARC port, so keep that in mind if you're going to use a soundbar. And now, one of my favorite parts, we have some film to remove. Whew, gets me every time. You know, I know the Gallery series or the G10 is supposed to be the more dressed up television, but who's gonna complain about that? Now, let's turn it on. WebOS, it's been a minute. So for those who are familiar with LG TVs, it runs on WebOS. It's a very animated sort of system, as you'll see here. Right out of the box, you select your time zone, and you're gonna hear a little bit of audio assistance. You get the opportunity to turn that off, which I definitely recommend you do because it's very annoying. We've already got some devices connected, as you see here. Ethernet is connected, HDMI 1 and 2 are connected. We do have something connected to HDMI 3, but because there is no signal, it's not recognizing it right now. So let's go ahead and move forward. Terms and conditions time, and folks, as I always say, you might want to spend some time reading this because, I mean, I'm not going to, but you might want to because of how it might share your viewing data. If you're uncomfortable with that, you might want to turn it off. Next up is an analysis of the quote-unquote user environment, probably measuring the amount of light in the room. You can set the TV up manually, which is what I'm going to do, but that feature is meant to adjust the gamma curve so that you get good bright highlights and good shadow detail depending on how much light is in your room. If you've got an antenna or cable box, now would be the time to get that set up. If you're using cable or satellite, it will well integrate into the WebOS system. Looks like the next step is choosing whether you want to use AI Picture Pro or AI Sound Pro. I will turn these on eventually to see what kind of effect they have, but for now I'm leaving them off. Enter the zip code and wow, that's it. That was really quick. At this point, I would expect that several apps are going to need to update. It's automatically updating Netflix, but that's because I selected it a little while ago. I imagine it's going to have to update a few more too. Now, for picture settings, I've loaded up a YouTube video I like to use for SDR evaluation. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the picture settings. No surprise, it's in standard mode, which honestly doesn't look too bad, but we know that other modes are going to be much more accurate. I'm going to go ahead and let's see, it's either going to be cinema or filmmaker mode. I'm going to go with ISF Expert Bright Room. Really, you can go with any of those and make some adjustments, but I think this is going to be the best one for our purposes at this time. Now we need to go into all settings and dig a little bit deeper. The mode is already selected. The energy saving is set to auto. I'm going to turn that off because I don't want it limiting any brightness because of it. Let's go into additional settings. All right. That's not what I expected. I expected a little bit more out of additional settings. There we go. Now we can adjust the ISF Expert Bright Room mode. And really, I'm just wanting to verify that there is no motion smoothing being applied. Yeah, True Motion is in user, so I'm going to turn that off for now, and we will experiment with some of those other settings later. Now I've pulled up an HDR title on YouTube. We want to take a look at the picture mode that it's in. It's currently in standard. Let's adjust this a little bit. Looks like we've got cinema, home, cinema, and filmmaker mode. I'm going to take a look at filmmaker mode. That tones it down a little bit, which is actually working well in this room. But I'm going to pull up cinema home and take a look at what the settings look like there. We'll bounce down into picture options. True Motion is on cinema clear, which I do not want. Turn that off. So again, if you choose cinema home, really any of these presets, make sure that your motion smoothing is turned off. Otherwise, you're going to get that soap opera effect, which I personally hate. Now, let's check out Dolby Vision. Now I've popped into Netflix and I'm selecting a Dolby Vision title because I want to get that activated and adjust the Dolby Vision mode. Check that out a little bit. Now that we've got things moving, I will pause and go into settings. Okay, so we're in cinema home right now, which is odd. I would expect to be, there we go. Dolby Vision, cinema home. What other options do we have? Looks like we have cinema, game, standard, and vivid. So the difference between cinema and cinema home is, I think the idea there is that if you're using this in a dark home theater setting, you can go with cinema. Cinema home is going to be more appropriate for what we've got going on right now, especially with the studio lights going on. The OLED backlight level contrast is maxed out, brightness at 50. All of this is pretty standard for LG settings. Let's go in. Cinema Clear is on by default and I can't turn it off. So is Real Cinema. That's interesting. I wonder if that's a Dolby Vision restriction or an LG restriction. Let's try going up to cinema and see if that changes. We can always brighten things up if we want to. Back out of that. No, actually the OLED light contrast and brightness settings are all exactly the same. So that's interesting. You know, we saw this before with the TCL 5 Series TV in that it just dimmed the picture even though none of the settings changed, which I just really think is odd. So in the cinema mode, which is quite a bit darker, True Motion is turned off and Real Cinema is on. We can always turn that off if we want to. But again, I'm a little bit confused by the lack of control of the Dolby Vision Cinema Home mode. So I'm going to give LG a call and see what that's all about. So first impressions, I mean, wow, the TV looks absolutely amazing. I'm really excited to game on this TV. I might even work over the weekend to do that. life's rough. Color accuracy, very curious about that. And I'm really looking forward to comparing this TV to the Sony A8H OLED. That comparison is gonna be extremely fun. But I mean, if you just need a quick takeaway, this TV is absolutely amazing looking. Right out of the box, super excited about it. Less excited about this cursor messing up my video, but you know what? That's real life. So stick around because the full review is coming. Thanks, as always, for watching, everyone. What do you think about the LG C10 or CX so far? And also, what do you want out of the review, given that this TV historically is an awesome performer? Leave me a comment down below, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and as always, visit digitaltrends.com for the latest tech news and reviews.